Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a drama film. Human, space, time, and human. Spoiler ahead, watch out, and take care. The film begins with a newly Japanese couple on an old warship sailing in the vast sea. The wife, nicknamed Eve, sees a presidential candidate is also on board with his son, nicknamed Adam. While enjoying the view, a group of thugs led by their boss calls for the senator's attention. The gangsters offer their loyalty and service to him. They even escort the senator into a luxury suite, catching the attention of other passengers. A trio of sex workers speaks up about the unfair treatment, pissing off the thug boss. Eve's husband also joins in, so thug boss threatens the complainers with his pocket knife. The complainers let it slide this time. The captain makes an announcement subsequently, welcoming all the passengers to a one-week cruise trip into the vast and beautiful sea. Eve and her husband notice an old man collecting dirt in a cup. When Eve asks why he does that, the old man only smiles before continuing to collect dirt. Later that day, thug boss rudely joins the senator and the captain at dinner. They enjoy the luxury food and wine, while the remaining passengers endure the tasteless food. Seeing the unfair treatment again, Eve's husband calls out the senator and tells him that he's not setting a good example for his people. The other passengers also agree with him. The senator speaks up and apologizes for his behavior. He also instructs the captain to give him the same food and a standard room as the other passengers. The captain informs everyone that all standard rooms are occupied, so the senator will remain in the luxury suite with his son. After dinner, thug boss tells the senator he will take care of Eve's husband. Adam tells him not to meddle with their business, as his rudeness to the other passengers affects the senator's image. After leaving the senator alone with his son, thug boss threatens Eve's husband not to interfere again, or he will toss him into the sea. Night comes, the old man sneaks into the kitchen and steals some food before going into his secret room. Eve and her husband see what he's doing, so they follow him. They see him put the 2 eggs in red light and plant the other food in cups with dirt. Later that night, the passengers spend their time gambling and having fun with the sex workers. After hooking up with the gangsters, the sex workers move on to the captain and his right-hand men. They want another round and more money. Meanwhile, thug boss sees the senator watching Eve and her husband enjoying a walk. Thug boss learns of the senator's interest in Eve, so he offers to bring her to him at any cost. The couple go into their room and engage in a workout section in bed. 2 minutes later, they finish when a group of teenagers suddenly barge in. They forcefully take Eve's husband out of the room and beat him up while the others harass the helpless Eve. Thug boss appears and threatens the husband a 3rd time, but he buttheads him before running his smelly butt away. Thug boss doesn't seem bothered by his escape. He soon catches him and repeatedly stabs him to death. Without any guilt, thug boss tosses his body into the sea. Meanwhile, Adam hears Eve's screams and tries to help her, but the teenagers beat him up. Eve escapes while they're busy, but she gets cornered by thug boss. He also abuses her, and poor Eve loses unconsciousness because of the rape happening to her. After that, thug boss takes her to the senator's suite and tells him to enjoy. As this happens, another young couple gets separated as the teenagers abuse the young lady. Not long after, Adam wants to come in when thug boss stops him. Adam insists on entering their suite when his senator father comes out, shocking him with a naked Eve. Thug boss locks him, and Adam immediately covers Eve's nakedness with the sheets. However, he cannot resist the temptation, so he slowly removes the sheets and caresses her nakedness with his hands and lips. After that, he exits the suite and leaves Eve. Unbeknownst to these passengers, the old man is silently watching everything as they happen. After a while, Eve wakes up and although traumatized, she looks for her husband. She sees thug boss, so she asks him about her husband's whereabouts. Thug boss cheekily replies that her husband's no longer on the ship. Traumatized after the first day of her marriage, Eve attempts to end her life by jumping off the ship. However, the old man stops her by pinching her head, making her lose consciousness. As the morning comes, Eve wakes up. When she looks around, she's left speechless as she sees the ship floating in the sea of clouds. Soon enough, the rest of the passengers and crew discover this, and they are also astonished. The captain tells them to remain calm, as they will try to figure out where they are, despite having no radar. Eve goes to the old man's room and discovers that he's hatching 2 eggs and growing plants in cups with dirt that he collected. Meanwhile, the senator asks the captain about the situation. He shares that it's the first time they have seen the sea vanish, and without contact for help, the food supply will only last for 6 days. Hearing this, the senator goes to the storage room, where the passengers are trying to break in. The gangsters immediately attack to threaten them. The captain and his men meddle to block the storage, so no one would take over the supply. However, the gangsters want to be the boss, so they charge the ship crew. Before a fight ensues, the senator interferes and demands he takes over the ship with the gangsters. But the passengers don't trust them and protest when Thug Boss pulls out a gun and holds them at gunpoint. The senator tells him to put it down and then instructs the passengers to wait for the breakfast to be served. The passengers have to return to their rooms after seeing the gun. The senator moves on to the captain to cut the food portion in half and give rice balls to conserve. The captain attempts to resist holding his authority, but Thug Boss meddles and holds him at gunpoint. He demands the captain to follow their orders and make their food with meat. Later at the office, the captain instructs his men to find weapons to protect the passengers. Meanwhile, rice balls are distributed to the passengers, but one of them doesn't like it. So he and other passengers march over to the senator and his men, only to find them digging in a different menu. They immediately protest, but the senator firmly tells them he will no longer tolerate excessive complaints. They must follow his orders to survive. Later that day, the captain attempts to hold on to his authority over the senator. However, he fails miserably as the senator threatens to harm the passengers if his orders are not followed. The senator even asks the captain if he purposely floats the ship in the air, to which he replies it is God testing their limits. But the senator doesn't believe in God, so he instructs the captain to reduce the food portion to 1/4 and give 1 meal a day. Later that night, the ship crew successfully finds an ammo box full of grenades. The captain thinks of using them to blow up the senator and his men. Meanwhile, Eve cannot stomach seeing her fellow passengers eating like beggars, so she confronts the senator about it. However, the senator ignores her opinion, so she goes to the planting room instead and waters the plant, making the old man smile. Adam follows her and discovers the room. He realizes that the old man is growing the chicks and plants to eat when the food supply runs out. However, Eve confronts him the night she's raped. She knew someone had touched her unconscious that night, and Adam's apology confirmed it was him. Later that night, the old man separates the liquid feces from urine using a sack to water the plants. He also plants fruits, as it will take years to grow them. Meanwhile, 3 passengers sneak into the storage room, knock out the guard, and steal the supply. They quickly run away, but the gangsters soon discover what has happened and beat them up. This creates a commotion among the passengers, so Thug Boss punishes the 3 passengers by not letting them eat for 2 days. After that, Thug Boss and the senator enter a secluded space where their sick plan is heard by the ship crew. There's a tube connected in that room to the captain's cabin, and they hear him wanting to weapon up before the passengers go crazy because of starvation. As proof of his loyalty, Thug Boss gives his gun to the senator and advises him to use the bullets wisely. Meanwhile, Eve is shocked to see the gangsters practicing beating the passengers with metal tubes and axes. While eating their delicious breakfast, the senator tosses his food over the passengers, who immediately crowd over to get the piece of meat. The senator laughs as he enjoys their desperation, pushing Eve to the edge. She demands they stop being sick dictators and treat everyone equally, but he's ignorant. Later that day, the other young couple pays one gangster to have food. However, the teenage boys gang up on the gangster and forcefully steal the food from the young couple. The rest of the gangsters soon arrive after hearing the commotion, and the paid gangster attempts to run away. However, the senator appears, and he ends up getting cornered. Thug Boss repeatedly slaps him before apologizing to the senator. Later that day, Eve discovers her pregnancy. This causes her to break down and attempt to harm her baby, as she believes it's a sinful child. However, the old man ties her to stop her from endangering her unborn child. Meanwhile, the gangsters play on the call girl's starvation and use food as a diversion while they get their way with them. Eve returns to her senses and tells the old man that she will no longer harm her baby, as it might be her late husband's. The following day, the gangsters announce that the food distribution will only be once in 3 days. They know that the dictators are stuffing themselves with delicious food. Fed up, the passengers attack the gangsters guarding the storage room to take over the food supply. One of them attempts to run away after getting food when the senator pulls out the gun and shoots him. It's a warning for them not to touch the food anymore. Terrified, the passengers slowly drop the food and back away. As the gangsters lift the corpse, the old man interferes. He folds the corpse's arms in his chest and closes his eyes. As they don't care anymore, the dictators let the old man get rid of the body. The old man takes the corpse into the plant room, where he chops the body into pieces. As she watches the old man do so, Eve can only attempt to stifle her cries and screams. The old man burns the meat with a blown torch before grinding the bones, which he uses as dirt to grow the plants and fruits. Meanwhile, the senator instructs the gangsters to stop giving food. The captain suddenly barges in and tosses the grenade before locking them. But the senator quickly tosses the grenade into a small metal container right before it explodes. The captain opens the door after the explosion, only to be welcomed by a gun pointed at his head by the senator. He demands to see the rest of the grenades, and because he's also scared for his life, the captain has to give him the ammo box. The evil senator then instructs the boss to move the food supply elsewhere, before luring the passengers to the storage room. Meanwhile, Eve decides to overcome her hatred for Adam and confesses to him her pregnancy. She asks for his help to keep the baby alive. Later that day, the gangsters announce that the passengers will get regular meals and instruct them to go to the storage room. The passengers obey the order, only to discover an empty food storage room. The old man stops Eve from following them. The captain also tells his men not to enter, as he knows that the gangsters are up to something. The passengers realize that it's a trap, so they rush to leave the storage when the gangsters lock up the metal doors. Everywhere they go, the doors are locked. The senator then blows up the locked-up passengers and murders the others that manage to escape. They mercilessly kill these passengers to conserve food. The gangsters eventually find the ship crew and slaughter them too. Meanwhile, the senator finds the young couple and plays a cruel game with them. He tosses a banana, which the guy had run away with, but the senator shoots him before he can go far. The girl screams in fear and agony, but then she starts stuffing the food into her mouth before the senator kills her too. Concurrently, the captain finds the new food storage and pours gasoline all over them. The senator and the boss arrive. The senator attempts to scare the captain with his gun, but he is not afraid anymore. The senator makes the mistake of shooting him, causing him to drop the lighter and put the food on fire. After the massive killing, the old man uses numerous corpses to grow crops. He even teaches Eve to butcher the dead passengers. They also plant the seeds on the other passengers' wounds. Meanwhile, the senator tells his son they will no longer be related. From now on, they need to strive for life. Later that day, the boss attempts to kidnap Eve. However, Adam refuses to let that happen. When the boss threatens him with a pocket knife, the senator shoots him in the arms. The senator repeatedly pulls the trigger, but he's run out of ammo. So the boss charges at him, steals his gun back, and reloads it with bullets, which he uses to kill the senator. Before dying, the senator whispers to the boss that his main role in this life is to torture others, which he wants to fulfill. The remaining call girl cuts off some meat from the senator due to her starvation, but the raw human meat nauseates her. After that, the old man plants seeds on the senator's wounds. Meanwhile, the boss forces the call girl to strip and starts to call her body. The cowgirl pretends to like it before biting his ear, prompting him to shoot her. Pissed off, the boss cuts and eats her sexy body, including her smelly part. He then goes to the kitchen to look for salt as the meat flavor. However, Eve accidentally passes by, and when she tries to hide, the boss finds her. To save her life, Eve tells the boss that the unborn child inside of her might be his. However, Adam arrives, and the boss points the knife at his neck. This prompts Eve to steal a gun to save their lives. She asks Adam to promise to do anything and everything to save the baby's life, which he does. Hearing this, Eve pulls the trigger and shoots the boss in the head. In the following days, the plants and crops soon grow. One night, Eve and Adam share their starvation with the old man, who gives them raw human meat. Although they don't like it, they have no choice but to eat it. After stuffing themselves, Adam caresses Eve's soft legs before heading to wrestle their muscles. However, the muscle wrestling consumes too much of Adam's energy. He soon goes insane because of starvation and dehydration. Adam insists on eating the chickens, even though Eve tells him to wait for them to lay eggs. Hearing the heated fight, the old man cuts off some meat and gives it to them. As the morning comes, the old man limply walks out of the plant room, leaving bloody footprints on the floors and stairs. This reveals that the old man has cut off his flesh to give to Eve and Adam. The two soon discover it and realize that the old man plays as God, who saved humanity from sin and destruction by removing the sinners. He presumably knows where the ship is and sacrificed his life for the sake of the unborn baby who's yet to be born in the world. Later that day, Adam forcefully barges into the plant room by destroying the metal door with an axe. He prepares to kill one chicken when Eve prevents him with the axe. Unlike before, Eve doesn't scream or cry anymore as she butchers Adam. Months later, the crops grow into fruits, and Eve gives birth to her son in the plant room. Years later, her son had grown into a little child, green leaves had expanded all over the floating ship, and the chickens had finally laid more eggs. More years later, the ship has turned into a floating forest, where Eve and her now-grown son enjoy a picnic with the foods they have grown. However, her son cannot resist the goddess-like features of his mother and the biological urge to procreate. The film ends with Eve running away in despair from her hormone-urged son to save her retrieve purity and last humanity. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.